Welcome to Puck Talk CS. I'm your host, Matthew Mugno, alongside my co-host, Steve Murno. The New York Rangers winning 2 games back-to-back. Haven't been able to say that too often this year, Steve. But first, I want to, with the news this morning about Larry Brooks passing, um, we definitely want to give a nod to him and a tribute. He is the first author you were opening the internet to read, the paper for most people at a time. His impact was profound, especially with his family. And I think that's what I want to touch upon. I know Johnny had mentioned it, Dan Rosen had mentioned it in their condolences online. Larry Brooks was a character. He was unafraid to tell you what he thought. In the locker room, he used a notebook to cover the team up until I was around very briefly covering the team in 23, 24. He had the respect of players. He had the respect of everyone in the building. You listen when he spoke. He always had an angle that was 10 steps ahead. Hockey Hall of Fame honoree as well. And I'm really glad he was alive to see that when he did. But above all, this is, we want to extend our condolences to those that were the closest to him, friends, family. And I think what really hit home for me this morning, and I'm a more emotional guy, Steve, I know, you know that too, is his connection with his grandson. His grandson played hockey. That's the most joy I saw when we were around the practice facility in Madison Square Garden, was when he was talking about his grandson. And I know we've all been there with loss, losing those who are close to us. So, um, I think it's one of those things I never want to add in 2 cents. Steve and I weren't, tight with Larry Brooks, but we know someone like Molly Walker was, and they had such a great relationship. That's a relationship professionally we aspire to have. It's at the pinnacle of his career. That's what everyone looked to, and he made waves. He made an impact, and it will forever be felt. Certainly in New York Rangers hockey, and in a year where Sam Rosen, Joe Micheletti retire, Larry Brooks passes. It feels like there's a lot of change going on in the Rangers universe. So we extend our deepest condolences to those closest with Larry and the Brooks family, and I think it was really important to start off this show by acknowledging the best who's ever covered, if not just the New York Rangers, New York sports, Steve-O.
Man, what a strong opening that was. I respect his knowledge a ton. So thank you, Larry, for your commitment to the game, and you will be missed. So on that note, let's talk some puck because we got some good things to talk about. So get us started.
Yeah, Steve-O, I think what Larry's, given a tribute like that reminds us that hockey is a game that means so much more to us. But at the end of the day, right, it's fun that we get to do this. It's fun that we get to do talk hockey, and now it's more accessible than ever. Um, and you know what, Steve? It's to brighten our day. We're not talking about a shutout loss at home at Madison Square Garden. We're talking about a New York Rangers victory against the Tampa Bay Lightning. A little bit of run and gun. Probably the most fun period we saw in that first period in a long time, with 7 goals combined. And at the end of the day, there was a lot to take away in confidence. The Nashville game, Vincent Trocheck returns and immediately has an impact, and then had an impact against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, Steve, I don't know if you want to start with Nashville that game, or Tampa. Maybe we could wrap them up quick and give our thoughts on just where the team's at overall.
Yeah, you said it best. Confidence. I think that's the big takeaway here. We can start with Nashville. Forget about the Preds. They're not very good. Soros had a really rough night. But more importantly, we were very desperate coming into that game. We really needed a win at home, especially coming out of the performance against the Islanders the other night. I mean, it's getting to a point where it doesn't matter how many games you win on the road. If you can't win games at home, it doesn't matter what you're gonna do. And I think we were really desperate. We just needed a win. It didn't matter how we went, how we won. It didn't matter the quality. It didn't matter who we played. We just needed a win, and we got it. And the thing about the Nashville game for me is that one of the things is we look so lackluster coming out and starting games on home ice. I think this game completely flipped that script. We played such an exceptional 40 minutes to start this game. Forget 40 minutes, 5 minutes. We came out and we played strong, which we're not used to seeing last year and this year on home ice for some reason. And I think um, you finally saw everybody step up. You got contributions from a deeper lineup. You brought up Trocheck and Perot coming in, and I think those additions. We knew Vinny T was going to come back and make a difference. And how about that? Let's talk about what he's been able to contribute to Panarin. We talked about Panarin being a little bit to start the year. I don't want to. Man, we have so much to talk about, but Vinny T, what he's done to Panarin these last two games, I think it just highlights that, you know what? Panarin missed Vinny. Maybe it wasn't a contract thing. Maybe it was just he missed Vinny. And I think putting Vinny and Perot back into the lineup, it makes our lineup up and down just so much more deeper. And you were able to see that, and now we put together a few big wins. Yes, now we're 8-1-1 right on the road. That's pretty big. And now you got a home win, it's your first win, but we're taking baby steps. But now we have confidence, and that's what excites me, putting together two really good wins makes you feel good, right?
Fun and confident, Steve, right? It's funny how that chemistry always seems to work. And speaking of chemistry, love what you said about Vincent Trocheck. I think there was a major oversight on his impact to this team. I actually think in a lot of ways missing him for this period of time made us realize how important he is to this team upon his return.
Yeah, and I think what excites me is that we look like a completely different team last night against Tampa and against the Preds as well. I think we didn't look at all like the team that got shut out. What was it, 5 times the first 7 games at home? We didn't look like that team at all. And I think literally we bust down the dam here. With all these goals, and I think again that's another confidence thing. We could go here and list a whole bunch of guys in the last 2 games that have come out and given an offensive explosion. Vinny T, Will Cooley, Panarin dished out 4 assists. Everybody, Loff, Miller, Borgen, everyone's finding the score sheet, and that's exciting. That's team chemistry overall, and that's something that the team 2 years ago had. And it's exciting, it shows you what this team is really capable of. Before the season started, both of us said we wouldn't be surprised if this team was able to jump in and make the playoffs. As of right now, we're only 2 points behind Carolina. Yes, it's way too early to start talking about playoffs, but I'm saying that the pieces and the potential are there. When you get Trocheck and Loff and Panarin going together, that's a hard line to beat. And I'm very excited. It's very promising, that line, right? Get you excited.
They were the best line in hockey in 2023-24. I luckily had the chance to interview each of them. And they really credited all three everyone that I interviewed, all three of the guys, stated that each player had the ability to drive play. And I think that's what I'm excited to see return to this team, return to that line and those three players. You saw Panarin make the same exact pass across the ice for the Trocheck second goal. Although part of that was on a Vasilevsky fluke, I still credit Trocheck for finding the hole to place the puck. And the Lafreniere goal, which was really nice. That looked like the Lafreniere we knew and loved in that 23-24 year. Something about going to Florida for this guy, right, Steve-O?
Yeah, right.
I just
Weird.
want to mention some stat digs. Lafreniere, 10 points in the last 10 games. The narrative quickly has now, like you said, flipping the script. Like that's kind of turned now where, all right, you're starting to see he's getting back in the groove. What was the difference? The center. Your 2C returning, I think we really overlooked his impact. The fact that I think no one attributed any of the struggles or the disjointed aspects of this roster to losing your really valuable second line center. Uh, it's funny now in hindsight. I think it's pretty funny that no one really talked about that. Um, Alexi Lafreniere, 10 points in 10 games. Will Cooley had 1 goal and 1 point in the first 9 games this year. In his last 9 games, he has 5 goals, 4 assists, and 9 points. So he's at a goal per game pace the last 9 games. He also leads the team with 63 hits, and he is above JT Miller with the lead. JT is 48. So he's leading by a significant margin in hits. He's at a point per game pace now. I think that's a major contribution. I really liked what he added to the power play dimension too yesterday. I'm curious what you think about Will Cooley and his power play time. I would like to see him um, maybe get a shot at net front.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I could see that, that element that made the New York Rangers so dangerous all those years ago was Chris Kreider in front of the net, and that was like a staple of what of the identity of this team. And now that Kreider's gone on to better things, I guess, you kind of see that that element is lacking. And I kind of want to see that return. We saw it we saw a little tidbits of Rempe was it last year causing havoc in front of the net. And I think it's something that we really got to get back to. This is like because we could really exploit that, and I could see Will Cooley doing that. I love that take, and I'd be totally willing to give um Cooley that opportunity. The one thing I love about Cooley is he's so adaptable. You could put him in any situation, and I feel like he could adjust. He's very good at adjusting. Talk all the time how we have stubborn players that really can't take on multiple roles on this team. You want to go up to Mika or Panarin, whatever, blah blah blah. Will Cooley is not one of those players, and that's what I like about him. And I think he hasn't shined away from showing that he's capable of doing that, whether it's on the defensive end, whether it's, being scrappy, in the corner, getting physical, even showing a little speed here and there. Will Cooley is that type of player. So, yeah, of course I would give him that opportunity.
Yeah,
I think,
Steve-O, just to wrap, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on Cooley. The power play is currently 29th in the NHL, so they still have a long way to go before they're even respectable, really. Although the PK's at 10th, so pretty good on the kill side, the D side. Will Cooley, to me, he's not fleet of foot, but as Lundqvist said the other night, he can shoot in stride. And what I really liked about the goal he scored was Fox took a shot, it hit off someone, banked off the boards, and Cooley had his stick down to elevate the puck. And that's something that the Rangers, we haven't seen too much of the greasy areas, the get in front, the angle of the stick in front of the blue paint to score some just kind of those dirty goals. So I liked that aspect of the game too. Like you said, he could do so many things. He adds so much as that 5-tool player.
yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that differs him from other players like Filipino, Kako. Those players, like they had their strengths, but they weren't adaptable. Will Cooley has that adaptability, which I think plays to like one of his biggest strengths. He could take on multiple roles, and that's why he's such a big asset, man. Like I am so I gotta get his jersey hanging up here. Like he is next. Like I don't. Do you have his jersey?
No, no.
Yeah, we gotta get on that, man. But I
I
think
also like to see his growth when he talks to the media. Like when I first talked to him, he was like, rookie year, um, a little quiet. He's like this big kid and he was quiet. And um, I like to see now in the post games, like when he's talking, you can see he's a lot more open. He's a lot more comfortable. So I think he's more comfortable. And it's funny, like part of the lineup things we're talking about is that I don't think this team is built to lose players, which is a flaw. But I think when you have all the right players in the right spots, you're seeing the trickle down to where Cooley's succeeding too.
yeah, 100%. Any more thoughts on Cooley before I move on to something else?
No, Steve-O, go for it, man.
All right. Another thing that I liked was upon Vinny's return, Sullivan did not overthink things. and I think that paid off vastly on Monday against the Preds. Trocheck coming back, long injury, putting him right back with Loff and Panarin, I think was the right move. And it paid off. What did they have? 6, 7 points together? Um, that's great. But also Panarin, I think that's such a key point. Um, putting or Trocheck's return next to Panarin. I think Panarin is on a serious heater right now. Let's be honest. I mean,
Steve, you're in the driver's seat right now. I'm just in the passenger seat. I like where you're going with this.
but it's true. What was the last episode or 2 episodes ago? We were like dissecting Panarin like this was like a tough puzzle that we couldn't figure out. I mean, Panarin is cooking right now. After the slow start to the season offensively, what does he have? Like 8 or 9 the points since then. He's got like 3 goals. I don't got the stats in front of me. You're
Yeah,
the
let me pull him up.
you're the stats guy. But I mean the past 4 games. You wanna chalk that up to shaving his head or Vinny T coming back? I mean,
I got a
Steve,
funny story on that. Stepboy Steve put up last night. Bald Panarin. So the games at in 23-24 after he shaved his head, and now this season after he shaved his head. 52 goals, 70 assists, 129 points in 86 games shaved.
that's
It's a
crazy.
thing.
Yeah, it
He's
is.
made it a thing. I give him credit. He did it, and it's a thing.
It is. I remember the first go around he didn't, and he came out swinging to start the year. Um, I think that Panarin has followed this up brilliantly offensively. And I think not even that he also made that pretty feed to set up Loft. He's making the you mentioned the passes. And when Panarin is uh helping out, when Panarin's getting assists, then he's on and he's going to be hard to stop. And I think that's the Panarin we know. And I think right now, he's taking this team. He's got. I don't have the stats. I don't got the stats, but they are impressive.
Let
I
me pull
saw.
him up, Steve-O. I'll tell you this: 4 assists last night. It's his second 3+ assist game this year, and that's something that we've gotten very comfortable with. But he's it's something we I think take for granted. I remember the first 3 assist game he had in 1920. The Rangers didn't have a player that was racking up 3+ assist games more than once a year, like often. We really didn't see that often. So 4 points last night, two against Nashville, three against Detroit. So he's got 9 points in those 3 games alone. Now, obviously, the Islander dud is in the last 4 games, but to me, in 3 games, he's got that many points. It's a great, great sign of the point production. He to me is like when you think about a hunter versus a gatherer. He's a gatherer. He's got all the apples in the basket, right? He's a producer. He's the farmer, and he's the player that can get you into the playoffs. Now, obviously, we've talked almost beaten the dead horse on our thoughts on his playoff performances, his game as a whole, east to west. But like you're saying, with this line right now, it's all clicking, and we saw the direction they can bring this team. They are a catalyst.
Yeah, and I think Vinny T, I'm getting like flashbacks now, like of a random episode last year. When you talked about how much of a catalyst Vinny T is, and that's true for Panarin, but I also think it's true for Loft too. Now we're kind of seeing him get quality chances too, and it's kind of like okay, like Vinny T has been one of the best Rangers signings in recent memory. Like what he's meant to this team 2 years ago, his piece on this team, he is so important. When you look at a championship team, you need a player like Vinny T. And I think not only does he elevate Panarin, but also Loth. And I'm very curious to see. Let's get him going too. Moving forward, I think that'll be so dangerous. I want to ask you, do you think Vinny T plays more of a role for Panarin, or do you think he plays more of a role for Loth?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, who is he a
Oh,
catalyst more for? Like, who needs him more?
I think Lafreniere needs him more because I think Lafreniere, we've seen when he has dips in his game, I think it's a little more important for the veteran to guide a younger player. Now, granted, he has it's his sixth NHL season, but he's still young. Like, I still think he needs support. Now, obviously, you want a first overall draft pick to be driving a line, but to me, this start of the year, this was the first real concern I had for Artemi Panarin outside of the Tampa series in 2022. But then after that, I think logically, Steve, you and I try and keep it real. That set the bar for where Panarin's playoff performance was when the game got thick. I think the other criticism was against New Jersey, but there were hints at playoff performance in that 22 playoff year. Whereas I think for Lafreniere, the highs are very high. And they came when he was playing with Vincent Trocheck and Artemi Panarin. And the lows were very low. And we've seen now part of that was when Panarin wasn't really producing, which was really just October 2025. And compared to the last 6 years, say, and without Vincent Trocheck. And for Lafreniere, we've also had more of a sample with different line mates that he didn't succeed with. Really, the two lines that he was could drive, but also could be a, for lack of better terms, a passenger. I still don't believe in that term totally, but co-pilot was the kid line. So I feel like the kid line was like this three total effort, and this line's a three-man effort. But I do think that if you take Panarin off that line, Trocheck can still facilitate play with Lafreniere, whereas I think Panarin, you could put on any line and he'll probably get an assist. He could score on his own. I think he can drive play. What about you? You asked the question. I really like that question.
I don't need to answer that because I literally agreed with everything you just said. Like, I agree 100%. I couldn't have said it better than yourself. I think it's Lafreniere too. I want to justify myself, but you literally said everything that I was gonna say. So, like, Panarin is Panarin. Like, we know you could throw him in another area, he's gonna get those opportunities. Lafreniere, I agree. I really can't argue that. So if we could get even like 75% of the performance that this line gave when they were the best line 2 years ago, this team is going to be set up offensively. Like, it's going to be hard, especially when I want to move on to another aspect of this team. I don't know if you got any more thoughts
Go
on that?
for it.
All right.
Go for it.
Especially when the defense is on, man. The defense has been pretty good. Not only has the defense been good defensively in these last few games, but the defense, we've gone offense for defense, and that is another very good sign. I think when you look at it last night, I think either 4 out of the 6 or 5 out of the 6 defensemen had at least 1.5. Man, the stats, like, you just, man. But 5 of the 6 defensemen had points. Adam Fox led the way. No surprise there. He's chipping out offensively in a very big way that we haven't seen from him last year. Will Borgen scoring his first goal since I don't know when. It's good. Even Gabrikov has been playing good hockey. He's been playing good hockey on both ends of the ice. Scoring I think his second goal against Nashville the other night. And then not only that, but he had that one play where he broke up the Nashville 3-on-1 with that slide and the stick. So he's been playing really good hockey. So I want to get your thoughts on the defense. Defense playing good defensively, but also chipping in offensively. It makes it easier for Panarin and the offense to get things cooking, right?
100%. And I don't think, Steve-O, I don't think this defense, the core of the defense is going to be like offensive outburst for the rest of the year. I think this is a feather in your cap. They had a really good game. They all produced, and hopefully bring some confidence to them. One play I really liked was Carson Soucy with a hit to separate man from puck, and then he retrieved the puck and started the outlet pass for the Lafreniere goal that Panarin assisted cross ice. So I think that stretched the ice. I think it was a stop, a turnover on a hit. Susie also joined in on a solo rush in the third period. So those plays to me signified kind of where this team can go if they regain their confidence, which they certainly have. The only defenseman that didn't have a point was Braden Schneider. He recorded 3 hits. And like you said, I think the play that convinced me of Gavrikov's abilities was on the Adrian Kempe 2022 quarterfinal overtime goal, where he broke up a play down ice one-on-one with the stick, sent it the other way, and the Kings scored in overtime. Um, I think he's convinced me for a long period of time. What I like about Gavrikov is he is the biggest New York Rangers signing that no one talks about. And it's because he does everything, every detail on defense right. Steve, you know what I laugh about? This man is so committed to defense. It's like, don't you want to score every now and then? And then when he
Right.
scored against Nashville, I was like, all right, there it is. There it is. So it's nice to see him get on the board. I don't think, listen, this team needs offense from the D enough to, again, compete. But I really like what they've done on the back end. They've clearly locked things down. Yes, they've had games where they've surrendered a lot of goals. What teams don't? And they're 10th best in goals against this season, which is a stark contrast from last season.
Yeah. Um, talk about defense. Quick note. The Lightning were without a few of their defensemen, and Victor Hedman, McDonough, and they got a lot of.
Ranger, former Ranger Ryan McDonough. I loved Mac.
Me too. Me too.
Me too.
I think Sorelli's out too. They had a lot of pieces out yesterday. But that still
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You still got to find a way to get things done, and we took care of business. And again, it's just when you get offensive outbursts from everybody, that is a sign of confidence. And again, that's something that we haven't seen from this team in a while. Man, tell me the last time that we had 2 back-to-back games like this where you scored like an onslaught of goals. You remember the time? Because I don't. I don't think we saw it at all last year.
Yeah, back to back, I can't remember. Obviously, that Islanders game with the 8 goals was nuts. Like that was like a beer league game.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't recall, Steve. And you're right. I think at this context is everything. At this point in the year, I know some folks have said, well, they didn't play the best teams. Well, Tampa had injuries, and Vasilevsky and Saros aren't at the top of their game. But this team, at this point in the season, every college coach I've talked to and interviewed says, we're focused on us right now. The most important thing for the Rangers right now is confidence. In order to turn the ship around, they can't be worried about necessarily who's on the other end. Yes, they scout, and yes, they pre-scout and video and the whole bit. But this team, to get things going, needed confidence wins, and that's what these were. And it came at a necessary time. You said it perfectly. This was pretty urgent. To me, if this team lost to Nashville, we're talking about maybe more rebuild conversations. Trocheck comes back, Perreault comes into the lineup. The lineup looks good. They perform great. I think that certainly justifies how important the proper lineup is for this team and the proper placement of certain players. I think this team needed confidence wins. And Steve, I think you said it perfectly to open the episode.
Yeah, you just made a great point there. You're spitting them left and right this epi. This part of the season is not about who you beat. Yes, there are statement wins, but it doesn't matter. You look at the collective games we did to end the road trip. Didn't matter who we played. We were just at a point where it doesn't matter who you beat, as long as you beat somebody to get that confidence, you could start to form throwing Vinny T, even Perot in there, a team identity. That's what this part of the season is all about. I say it all the time. You want to rack wins early on in the season. Yes. It doesn't matter who you beat, though, as long as you get those wins and you form an identity and a chemistry of your team. Now, when we flip the calendar and we get to 2026 and we're in March and we're in April, yes, those games matter who you beat. You come out and you play Carolina and you get stomped on, and then you play New Jersey and you get stomped on, then, there's going to be a lot of thinking. But right now, it doesn't matter as long as you rack those wins and you gain confidence. And we look we. I mean, I haven't seen this team playing this confident in a long time, especially, you know, even with Tampa. You know, Tampa is still with the coaching and such a solid system they have. They are not an easy team to go in and stomp on. And
Mhm.
this team is confident, and I like that. It makes us dangerous. Who we have next? I think we have Columbus and Detroit. I think Detroit comes to us. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Um,
I want to add to that, Steve. The Rangers chased Vasilevsky for the first time since October 21st, 2024. And I think that's important because, like you said, John Cooper is already Hall of Fame lock in my book. They're hard to play against. By the way, they still scored goals. They still scored a few goals. Jake Gensel looked really great last night. Not only that, just filing out individuals. When they pulled the goaltender with the power play, Kucherov made 5 cross-seam passes through the slot. Like, they were putting it on to end the game. So, like you said, I don't think we should also just glance over that. Yes, they had injuries, and yes, they weren't in their full capacity either. But this Rangers team needed a win. And it wasn't like, there's no longer really these pushovers in the NHL. Every team's got talent, and this team also has one of the best coaches in the show. So I like what you said about that. And I know you brought up kind of who's coming up next. If you want to talk about that, I'm happy to.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I want to build off one thing you just said there. I agree with you. You know, yes, they were shorthanded, but still doesn't matter. They still scored. What was that? 3 goals in the on a few shots in the first period. But I think Igor shook that off in a big way. You know, and he was very outstanding for the final 2 periods, and stopping. I don't know if it was 30 shots in the last 2 periods. I'm not sure. I don't remember. You're the stats guy, but
I
Igor
didn't see anything on that, but I'll see if I could pull anything up.
Igor came up in a big way and played well. And I think that is just something that, when you are showing offensively, it just takes a weight off Igor's shoulder. Even on a night where, he has a tough start. We've seen this when he comes out and has tough starts. It's harder for him to get in a groove. But last night, offensively with the outbursts, he had a little bit of a tough start, but he rebounded very fastly, and that's something that I like. He made an absolute robbery. On I forgot who he robbed, but it was that great backdoor pass from Kucherov. Um, so got to tip your
Steve,
hat.
how about this? 36. They finished the game with 36 shots against. Nashville had 30 shots against. He put up a 900 save percentage versus Nashville, 917 against Tampa, and he also had 2 penalty minutes. But yeah, he's definitely been, I think, kind of a rock on the back end, certainly living up to the contract. And like you said, like they started really pouring it on, and he kind of shook off that start. And I thought that first period was an outlier. The game against the Islanders at home, to me, was more the team leaving him out to dry,
Yep.
um, with the odd man rushes.
Yep. And again, like I said, when we leave him out to dry, but puts him in a little bit of a rut, puts the whole team in a little bit of a rut. And that is something that I like the quick rebound when you're able to adapt. That's something we saw 2 years ago, which made us the best team in the league. So that quick adaptability, on all ends of the ice, defensively, Igor, offensively, I don't know. I think it sets us up good, man. So coming up here, we could talk about that. I think we have Columbus on the
Yeah,
road.
they're at Columbus Saturday.
Okay, that's why we always play Columbus on a Saturday. It's always a Saturday or a
Eight seven
Sunday.
and one. They're 8-7-1. It's funny actually. I think looking when we were looking far ahead, I was concerned about this stretch, but I mean, listen, it's the NHL. I got to win every game, um, or be in it every game. They play Detroit at home, who's 9-7-0 on Sunday, so they go back to back. Um, that's bound to have, I think, maybe a loss in there. If we're being for real, for real. 7 o'clock, they're 9-7-0. Then they go on the road, and this is a week that's going to be wild. At Vegas, Tuesday the 18th. So next Tuesday, they're 7-4-4. Colorado's on a heater, 11-1-5, just one
Oof.
regulation loss. That's next Thursday, November 20th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And then they're at Utah, who's made waves early, but has kind of fallen down to earth now. 10-7-0. They play them next Saturday, November 22nd. Those 3 games on the road, which the Rangers are 8-1-1 away anyway. So if we're going by that voodoo magic, I'll take it.
Yeah, very confidently. I think it all starts with Columbus again. Another team in your standings. They are. It's funny this time of year. You look down the standings and they're like second to last, but they're only like 3 points behind us. So
Yeah,
the standings again.
the Metro's tight still. It's
The
still
Metro is
very
very
volatile.
tight. Nobody's out of it. There isn't. The Islanders started the year off very rocky, and let's not talk about the game they played against us, but they've turned it around and they are playing. They're playing very good hockey right now. The Islanders. What did they? They won their last 2 games, and not only did they win the last 2 games, they were very impressive wins.
Pitchforks down. I love that call from Brendan Burke.
Yeah. Um. So they're impressive, but it's just building your lead off. Again, at this point in your standings, you're looking for just a quality win. I don't think it matters how you win, as long as you win. Keep the offensive. We want to keep the offense going.
Oh
This
yeah.
this team is, I don't want to say bipolar, but we have a tendency to come out, have a very strong game. We look good, and then we just lay like an absolute dud of a game. You see that all the time. We came home from that road trip, and you get 3-0 Islanders. And you're like, oh, what the hell? So I'm looking for, yes, we play well on the road, but I'm looking for, I want to score at least 3 to 4 to 5 goals in this game. I want to keep this momentum going. Let's get this chemistry going. And again, this is a Columbus team that for some reason, we saw this last year, even the last 2 years, they play a tough game. They are not a cakewalk at all. All of our games last year, I think, were decided by like 1 or 2 goals, except for that one blowout game that they absolutely came into MSG and stomped on us. But these games against Columbus are always close. So I'm excited for that. You got thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, definitely a lot to look forward to now. Let's see where things go. And Steve, we'll be back to talk about it with all of you guys. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, sad day with the Brooks news, very unexpected. And, I think that'll be something we continue to talk about for a long time. But otherwise, with the game of hockey and the New York Rangers, we'll have more for you coming up. And for Steve-O and I, things have been a little bit busy. So, we're looking to get some consistency as we head into that all fun November, December part of the season. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Knock on wood, but I don't think it could get worse than it did last year in the month of December. So for us,
Knocking, knocking, knocking on wood right now.
that's true. As always, follow us along our socials at Puck Talk CS, the Gram, the YouTube, Twitter, all across platforms for all our content. And always remember, it's just the luck of the puck.